say he's the Gandalf to my Bilbo? Or the Troll to my Bridge? Everyone, give it up for Bear Love!
Hello! You may know me as last month's inventor of sweet tea. We're still getting patenting and licensing. It is called sugar water tea, and I thought I invented it when I was smoking weed in Colorado for 3 days. I didn't invent sweet tea. My cousin's from Texas. He told me I didn't. Okay, but I have traveled a lot because there was an herb that is illegal in Michigan, where I was from. Not anymore. Come on up. I was running up there. So, but there was an herb, and I'm from the Prohibition times, the 2000s. Young kids don't know. They have Uber to get them home. They don't get DUIs. I never drove drunk. That wasn't my thing.
It's all for you.
And I even would like to remind people not to drive drunk tonight. You know, Uber can take you home. I've hitchhiked around, and because I was looking for my place, so I found out California legalized. So I lived in San Diego once they legalized pot in 2003. I actually hitchhiked there, and I took a Greyhound bus. And we met some girls that were AWOL from the Army, and I was AWOL from the drug war in Michigan. So, and they tried to make me a POW. So I did time for a week. And so, because I always confess when I got caught, because I can't lie, I can't tell a lie. You know what I mean? So they wanted me to wear Visine. You know, my soccer coach didn't like that I smelled like an herb. They wanted me, he taught me, he said, hey, you gotta wear some cologne or something. And so I liked this one raspberry flavored cologne. It was kind of, it was a little fruity, literally. But I found out that raspberry flavoring, artificial flavoring, and vanilla that we eat, it comes from the artificial flavoring of the juices from a beaver's butt. Look this up. So because I smoke an herb, you want me to douse myself in beaver butt cologne?
She likes gammy.
No, thank you, right? The herb smells fine.
That's pretty good.
So, but honestly, I never like to tell a lie. So I was in San Diego. I was living there for a while, and I went to a hippie party over the border in La Paz, Mexico, near Cabo San Lucas. And it was an international rainbow gathering. I had hippies from France, hippies, which the French are very sexual, we found out. They were like, the French guy is trying to hit on all the women. Can you please tell him this is a hippie gathering? Leave them alone a little bit. So there was cultural barriers. You gotta read the signs when you're in a different country. They do different things when you're not from there. You know what I mean? So, for example, I was not allowed to drink on the boardwalk in Mexico. They arrested me. Everybody else from Mexico was drinking on that same boardwalk, but it said on the sign, no drinking there, man from north. So and like I said, when I was sitting in Mexican jail, I got out pretty soon, but I said, hombres, when I tell the bromas, if you call me a liar one more time, you can't hear any more cool stories, because I don't lie. All right, so let me tell you about when I met this kid named Pablo hitchhiking back up to. I was with this guy named Eden. I'm spiritual like them too. This guy gave us a ride named Eden. And so in Eden's car, Pablo was also hitchhiking to the border who had just gotten deported. This was before DACA and the whole Barack Obama getting the kids up here who have been brought up here. Citizenship. He got deported at 19, and depending on what side you're on, I'm not trying to be political. All right, so I met him at the border. He couldn't come back up over. I felt very privileged that I could walk over the border. So I said, dude, you have to hitchhike down to your uncle's house that you've never met in Mazatlan. How about I hitchhike with you? So I didn't plan to hitchhike to Guatemala, but I did because I saw a 19-year-old. So depending on if you're a Republican or a liberal, you can look at the story one of two ways. If you are against the border, then I took one of them home myself for you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
All right? But if you're a bleeding heart liberal, I took that poor 19-year-old kid to his uncle's house so he didn't have to hitchhike through Mexico alone. So, but he knew how to speak Spanish, and I was pretty big, like my Bilbo said. I got that Gandalf side, and I said the Great Spirit made some of us big for a reason, and I didn't have a job in mortgage anymore because that shit was boring. And so I'm hitchhiking around San Diego, and basically, so I go back and I sell some of my things, and I meet him at the border, and I say, hey, let's get you down to your uncle's house. He had already been living in a compromising situation, and there was some pretty tense situations happening when people were trying to start a private business. They were trying to start a bus system in Mexico. The yellow buses were not owned by the mafia. The blue buses were. That's why we love the free market here, because we can start businesses and we have opportunity here. Right? You guys love America? That's right. Okay, so I'm not trying to be political. I love this country. You know, and I hope we all figure it out this November, whatever it is. So, but you gotta read the signs. That's what this is about. Alright, so they told us not to hitchhike during the day, we're only supposed to hitchhike during the day in Mexico. Because I hear that the mafia runs the streets at night, and I didn't even know this, but we found these guys right about dusk who seemed like Mexican hippies. They were drug runners for Sonora, the Sinaloa cartel. That picked me up. Because I decided to hitchhike at night. And these guys were telling jokes, and because they had an empty car, the van doors were welded shut. We had to go in through the passenger door. There's a caravan, because they had just transported a large shipment of Beanie Babies to the border. Not Beanie Babies. Okay. So, but the vehicle I was just in was empty, and we were going back south. And so they said they wanted to give us an 8-hour ride almost to the kids' uncle's house. So I was like, we're taking this ride. These guys are the Mexican hippies. They were all jolly, you know, like they just made a bunch of money. So basically, true story, I don't lie. I told everybody in jail. So basically, they take us to this weird back station, depot station. When we fell asleep, that's the other rule of hitchhiking in Mexico, is don't fall asleep at night. So basically, I fell asleep because we were so comfortable, and we were in that back of that Dodge Caravan, you know what I mean? And so I basically fell asleep, and I wake up, and we're at this place where there's somebody by a fire. It's another 19-year-old kid by a fire, and he has a 55-gallon barrel next to him. And he is siphoning gas into a 5-gallon bucket. Okay? And so he is siphoning gas into a 5-gallon bucket, and I guess I'm at a whorehouse in the middle of nowhere, and there's truckers that are coming in, and he's filling up their gas so they can get back to the main road. Don't fall asleep when you're hitchhiking in Mexico. Okay. I guess they said we could have had more fun if we wouldn't have fallen asleep, and we could have came in the back with them. I don't know what they would have done. So, but instead, they came out, they were very paranoid when they got out, and so they're asking us where we were going. I had just met this girl named Kundalini Kim. She had a Rainbow Gallery family property in Belize, which they speak English down there, you know what I mean? And so, basically, she said I could come to her property. She said, you're worried about getting arrested? She said, you're worried about eating food like Jif that has hydrogenated soybean oil, which is plastic? Oil, plastic. Okay, she said, you don't want to eat plastic? She said, you can live on my farm in Belize and your job will be picking coconuts. Literally. I was on my way to go pick coconuts. Instead, I got arrested 3 more times in Mexico. But, I'll tell you about that. So, do you guys want to hear the rest? You guys will know my big table. Okay. All right, so you got to read the signs. So after I got out of that situation, they tried to tell us, like, okay, where are you going? And I said, Belize. And I said, okay, where are you going? And he said, my uncle's house, and eventually Honduras, because his other friend that got deported was in Honduras. So he was going to pick him up and take him to his uncle's now that he knew where his uncle's house was, in Mazatlan. So he told the Mexicans, the cartel, we're going to Honduras. And I told them, because I don't know that they were getting tense. You know, if hippies get intense, it's usually at a music festival. Intense. All right. So basically, yeah, I'm a dork. So basically, they were getting intense, and I didn't speak the language, so I didn't even know that the hippies were mad. And so basically, this was the conversation they were having. They said, "Could you tell us if you guys are on the run? Just tell us." And they were like, "You say you're going to Honduras. You say you're going to Belize. What's the truth?" And I said, if I could tell you a different truth, I would. But he is going to Honduras to pick up his friend. I'm going to pick coconuts. So, basically, so I get down there, and so I ended up going to Guatemala anyways. I met a different girl from Germany who got me down there. But before I went down there, I got one, I don't do any racial humor ever, but my dad's got Polish in him, so have you guys ever heard any Polish jokes? Okay, so I'm bringing back the blonde jokes and the Polish jokes. I got the blonde and I got the Pole. All right, so that wasn't a dick joke. Sorry. So basically, here's the thing. I met a kid who was on a sabbatical. He was a Catholic altar boy from Poland, and he was in Mexico just to have a spiritual trip. He was doing a trip from Canada all the way to Argentina. And this poor altar boy, he didn't read the signs, but he found some Mexicans and said, "Oh, you're spiritual? We're going to eat a spiritual food." And this poor Polish altar boy, he said, "A spiritual food? Gee golly." And he said, "What is it?" And they said, "Yeah, we're going to eat peyote in the desert with El Jefe de la Desierto." And so he didn't get that language that they're going to eat peyote. He said, "A spiritual food? Gee golly, I gotta try this." All right, so Mundick literally met his friends in Loma Blanca and San Luis Potosí, and he couldn't find his friends, but I was already there trying to find the peyote because I had heard about it, and I just see this guy shimmering, and he's an altar boy, and so I said, "Dude," because the locals weren't really feeling the peyote, so I asked a few locals, they were like, "Dude, no." So I asked this Polish dude, and I was like, "Dude, you're going to show me where the peyote is." He goes, "I will show you where the peyote is." He goes, "But our Lord went into the belly of the earth for 3 days." He goes, "I was just tripping on peyote for 3 days in the desert." He goes, "This package of Snickers saved my life." Hungry, why wait, eat Snickers? You know what I mean? He goes, "This package of Snickers just saved my life." He goes, he goes, "I can't do a 4th day in the desert because Jesus didn't do 4 days in the belly of the earth." He goes, "Let us drink this bottle of tequila in my hotel, and then I will show you where the peyote is." And so I either was going to die finding peyote, following a Polak into the desert, or I'll tell you about the peyote stories next time in Zach's show.
That'd be great.
Hey, give it up for storytelling.